And to everyone who hates when I win, the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her.
Oh my God.
And I can only hope
What does that mean?
that despite my flaws and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
It's true that every advancement involves victimization, but avoiding victimization can save you. However, what if I told you that 22-year-old Rachel Zegler could spend $120 million to portray Snow White in Disney? This historical character's role, which would have been any young actress' dream, has turned into Zegler's worst nightmare. The star of Snow White may have to pay a hefty price, since Zegler has dragged Disney into a legal, media, and financial nightmare. This is because Rachel Zegler is held solely accountable for Snow White's failure by specialized press, reviewers, actors, and influencers. Since the Mouse House put the remake in damage control mode, the topic has continued to be discussed in the media. Others estimate it to be a $400 million disaster. However, reports indicate that Disney executives would be blaming Rachel Zegler, which is why crisis meetings are being held in Puerto Cerrado. The affected party would be demanding compensation from the Snow White protagonist, which many people, including their fans, find completely insane. Naturally, the media was alert to this development.
It's me about this story. You know, Disney and all these media companies, they invest hundreds of millions of dollars into these projects, right? Have they ever thought about maybe like a little bit of like, I don't know, vulnerability study, opposition research, that sort of thing before you go and hire some Zoomer who's a lunatic?
Indeed, it's serious. They liken Zegler to a madman. Disney may be requiring Zegler to cover a portion of the loss, according to internal sources, citing brand harm, poor PR, and a string of bad press that is directly related to his name. Several individuals with sensitive knowledge confirm that a high-level management meeting was conducted to assess the repercussions after the terrible debut weekend, proving that these rumors are more than simply rumors. According to reports, the discussion focused on whether Zegler's behavior, such as his widely shared mocking of the original Snow White in interviews, had an impact on the movie, and yes, this may be seen as a breach of her contract. Naturally, there are several instances of this on social media, but one in particular is timeless. Take note. A lot of attention is paid to her romance with a man who really pursues her.
You know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who really stalked her.
Yeah.
Weird. So we didn't do that this time.
So no prince or a different kind of prince?
We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story just because, like, cast a guy in the movie.
Right.
Andrew Burnap, great dude.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that everyone's going to have their assumptions about what it's actually going to be. But it's really not about the love story at all, which is really wonderful. And whether or not she finds love along the way is anybody's guess until 2024. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
According to some accounts, legal teams were engaged, but they failed to consider the potential for using their contracts' concealed morality provisions and performance triggers in public relations. Rachel Zegler would undoubtedly be the first casualty of a corporate war that would be cloaked in crisis management. The alleged tone of the meeting is even more shocking, according to one source. Disney's high command was not only disappointed with the actress, but also furious, because their goal was to get great benefits from the movie and reach a milestone in the collection of over $1 billion. However, it appears that the shot came out of the ass because the movie hasn't yet reached $200 million in revenue. We are already in the third week, too. Naturally, this has dealt a serious hit to the mouse pocketbook. And a lot of execs are both furious and utterly disillusioned. A public apology would be the first thing they would seek, for the stipulations and agreements that followed. We are well aware that Zegler is not going to do that since he has made it known that he is a narcissist. The second is to get the money back. The issue is whether Zegler would be prepared to cover the costs of the harm done to Disney. Let's find out what certain reporters think of Zegler's actions.
Yes, Gadot, whatever.
I mean, what?
Yeah.
Wow.
They flew an executive, one of the producers, out to go visit personally with Rachel Zegler to say, could you please take that down? Because we understand you can have your political views, but those aren't really helpful while you're trying to build an audience for a movie. Maybe you could save them for like your diary and your friends, but like maybe not, maybe just take the tweet down. And she would.
Rachel Zegler just keeps making things worse with the Walt Disney Company. The more that she tries to defend this movie, the more that she tries to spew her agenda onto the general public. It's only making matters worse, not just for Bob Iger, but for whatever is left of the image of Disney as a whole.
For context, Variety wrote a report recently titled Inside Disney Snow White Fiasco, Death Threats, Beefed Up Security, and a Social Media Guru for Rachel Zegler. Evie Magazine wrote on X, when you compare how Rachel Zegler spoke about Snow White to how other actresses played live-action Disney princesses spoke about their character, really underlines just how poorly she carried herself.
Yes, she is the ideal illustration of what Disney may anticipate from her, only mayhem and devastation. In a world as visceral as Hollywood, image and prestige are what matter. If you don't have any prestige in this industry, no one will respect you, and if your image is tarnished, no one wants to be by your side. That's why many of the actress's fans are disappointed that the film hasn't made as much money as the live-action Lion King. Many Progradella fans truly believed that the film would be a box office hit, but when they discovered that the theaters were completely empty, the scene started to completely change. Zegler reportedly panicked.
I mean, he's totally right. Now, of course, as we covered, the movie is terrible anyway in its own right. It was probably going to underperform regardless. People are tired of the soulless cash grab remake thing. The movie has all kinds of problems that could be pinned partly on the producer. Like the producer did not do a good job. Nobody produced this movie did a good job.
Ending up on a blacklist, something that no Hollywood performer aspires to be, but Raquelita seems to have earned it by development. The story of modernizing Snow White was a complete mess. The casting was a complete mess. It was wrong from the start. But there is one thing that is undeniable. Zegler's remarks caused a lot of actual harm to the movie, exploding in the premiere, and the negative reactions continued in a brutal way, so that the film did not receive a positive word for word, completely destroying it. As a result, Zegler would be on the loose at this time, and if Disney succeeds in getting paid, Rachel Zegler would have to pay $120 million. The actress can become bankrupt in addition to losing her contract money. That's it, folks. In essence,
Snow White bomb breaks records for the lowest live-action remake opening ever. Let me say that again. Ever. Okay? This is Snow White. And for those of you that have daughters or ladies that are listening to this, remember the first time you watched Snow White? The story, a love story, what happens to it? Snow White starring Rachel Zegler opened to a dismal $43 million snag title of the lowest debut weekend any Disney live-action remake, beating 2019's Dumbo at $46 million. They beat Dumbo. Shame on you, but it's for the worst ever. The article notes this does not count for the 29-year-old live-action remake of 101 Dalmatians, which is not part of the current cycle. Nevertheless, the 1996 remake movie still open at $33.5 million. Today's dollars, that would be $68 million. Overseas and far projections whopping $100 million, $87 million globally, falling short of $270 million budget before promotion, leaving Disney facing a brutal loss. Entertainment media for excuses, with Penske Entertainment Media monopoly claiming.
This is the information. What do you think? In the comment section, I would really appreciate hearing your own thoughts on this subject, because your viewpoint is important to me.